email app on your computer. So without further ado, I'd like to get started with our panel, our VR LBE operators panel. And first of all, thank you, everybody, for joining and coming to the conference and speaking. I guess we could start off with some introductions, who we are, and what our company does. And we can probably just go down the line. Do we want to start over here on the audience's left, Shabir?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Sound great.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So, yes, I'm from Synthesis. So, Kaman and I, we've been working together for a long, long time, and mostly in the development industry. And things were getting a little boring and stale. So we decided, we wanted something new and exciting. So in 2015, end of 2015, beginning 2016, I know VR with all the Oculus and with HTC, we thought this might be something really cool. So actually I went and tried out Jan's Virtuix and loved it. And we thought, this is something we would want to get into. But at that time when we started, there were not too many locations or nothing much in VR, not too many development companies or gaming. So we decided, initially we open a location, see how that goes. So that's how we opened up VR territory in Los Angeles. And right now we have 4 locations. And we were testing our solution Synthesis with real-time customers and all in 2016. So one of the very first, I think, with Control V. So so we were testing our solutions with customers. At that time we started getting requests, and we started testing it with our partnering locations, friends. And in 2017, we released Synthesis. So it's like a robust, fully location management platform where you can pretty much do everything, and you can customize a lot of the features. So that's what we want to do. We want to pretty much give a very robust platform where, a location, whether it's small or huge, they could do everything with Synthesis. And so many other features. And then we also got into content licensing. So those are 2 main things. So right now we have about 300 locations using us. And pre-COVID, everybody was doing very great, but now things have slowed down. But now with from June, July, I think things have opened up really well. So hopefully, things get better. And so yeah, that's about us.
Thank you, Shabir. And how about you, Brent? A quick intro, who you are.
Yeah, hi folks. My name is Brent Bushnell. I run a high-tech circus called 2-Bit Circus. We're a big band of nerds that have been building games and attractions for over a decade. We finally decided, after building stuff for lots of brands and, helping Samsung launch their VR at the Super Bowl and Dave & Buster's doing the same, we finally said, hey, let's do more of this stuff for ourselves and build our own, our own events. So we ultimately ended up building our own facility. We call it a micro amusement park, which is a term we just made up, but it's a 40,000 square foot entertainment complex in downtown Los Angeles. We've been, we would have been open, today, over 2 years, but because of COVID, we shut down. We actually closed before we were forced to. We closed on March 14th. So in the meantime, we've been building a play from home game show that I'm really starting to love. That's a whole virtual event, and still planning for opening up some more sites.
Thank you, Brent. I'd love to follow up on that in-home event as well afterwards in terms of how us as businesses are pivoting and adapting to the situation. But Ryan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Ryan. I'm from Control V. I'm pretty confident we were the first ones to do this kind of LBE VR concept with HTC Vive back in 2016. Our goal was only to open 1 location, and then we had about 300 inbound requests for franchising. We very quickly had to pivot and learn how a franchise works. So every location we've opened since has been organic, has been just come to us and seen what we've done and wanted to be part of that. I think we've tried our hand. I think like Michael Festa can relate at the kind of rev share model where we did something with Cineplex, with IMAX, a couple other installations, and some of the challenges that go along with that, very different than the franchise model where you have kind of total control over the operation. So we've definitely dialed in on the franchising, and even though we've lost a couple locations as a result of COVID, we got another 3 in the pipeline that'll be open in the next couple of months. I think the next nearest will be Florida. We'll be open up there in end of November.
Awesome. Congrats. And my name is Jeremy Lamb. I'm founder and CEO of Virtual World Arcade. With 3 sections of our business. First is this conference and VR platform and the events that we do for event organizers. And second is we're a content development studio. We started off developing VR games for VR LBE and also some for in-home, but also nowadays enterprise applications. So if you have some content, VR content that you'd like to develop, shoot me an email and we'll help you get it done. And the third part of our business is something that we've been running for a very long time. We started off opening a VR arcade at a local mall, also mainly to test run games that we developed for VR LBE, and that transitioned and turned into a more profitable events, like mobile events business. We would just drive to people's houses to do birthday parties. We drive to people's offices for corporate events, because from our model and also rent being very high in the Silicon Valley in California, we made a lot more money per time, per hour doing events. So that's us. What about Michael?
Hey everyone, I'm Michael Festa. I'm the Chief Business Officer of Springboard VR, also known as partner, according to this big slide behind me. If you don't know me from Springboard VR, I used to work at Servios beforehand. I was one of the first people to really get content into the VR LBE space, and can confirm with Ryan.
The best person to get VR into LBE.
Oh, thank you, Ryan. Yeah, and I remember working in early 2016 with Ryan, trying to sell raw data to him at 20 US cents per minute. So boy, has the market changed since then. But yes, I worked alongside Springboard when I was at Servios back in early 2017 when they started with Upward VR, one of the first arcades in the country, but also the first in Oklahoma. And watched the genesis of Springboard come about from finding the pain points and what didn't work well in Upward, and how we could manage content and how you could manage the venue. And that was really the beginning, in the mid of 2017, of getting Springboard to be a platform that could not just service Upward, but could also service the rest of the community. And in that period of time grew from 1 to over 500 partners. And here we are today to talk about what's happened in the last few months with COVID.
Thank you, Michael. And Brian.
All right. Hello, everybody. So my name is Brian. I'm the founder, CEO of Heroes Virtual Reality Adventures. It's an arcade, single location in Sacramento, California. So we celebrated our 2-year anniversary during COVID a few months ago in June. I don't have necessarily quite the same background of the large companies that many of the panelists here have. We're single location, just kind of a shoestrings and duct tape. Got inspired to be into this space, and so so what we're doing, we're off to a pretty strong. We kind of hit the ground running early on. We had some steady growth, and we were certainly, as probably many of you were, having best months ever, leading right into mid-March, and then things have obviously changed a little bit, and now we're adapting, much like you all. So.
Thank you, Brian. And for this next part, I'd just like to do a quick, a lightning round, real quick, a few words from each of the panelists. We could start, this way from Brian this time. Country or state or city, however you want to sort of talk about where your location or locations are. And also, do you target, what's your demographic, like family friendly, adults, kids, sort of what's your direction and focus? So we could, just a few words, go down the line here.
Sure. So we're based in Sacramento, California, as I said, so we're still have quite a few level of restrictions right now. We're pretty wide open. We start at about age 8 and up, so we don't really limit. We thought we were going to go after more of the adults focus, but we've got a lot more of the kids that have come in, but we really do run a very, very full spectrum. We've got an elderly book club comes in, and we also have little kid birthday parties. And so it kind of runs that whole spectrum. Primarily, it's the customer service fun zone.
So
actually,
Springboard VR. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Actually, let me sort of for Springboard and for Synthesis, sort of pivot that to less of a, what audience or what demographic, but like more locations and what clients, LB clients do you serve? Yeah.
Oh, sure, not a problem. Yeah, so Springboard itself is a fully distributed remote team, and we have been since 2017. We do have a headquarters in Oklahoma as well as Los Angeles, where I and the CEO are based out of. In terms of our partner demographics, we have arcades in like 44 countries right now. Half of our business is in the United States, 2/3 is in North America, and the rest is between Europe and Oceania. In terms of demographic, just a brief comment on that. What we find is, at least in North America, specifically in the United States, we find a lot more kind of birthday party crowd, children with their parents. Whereas when we go more towards our European market, we're seeing a lot more millennials and more professionals as a kind of end user demographic.
Interesting. Well, thank you, Michael. Briefly on us, we're in the San Francisco Bay Area. With the birthday parties, it's kids, 9, 10, 11, 12 to teens. And then corporate events is millennials, 20s, 30s. Yeah, that's us.
Well, we're not in 44 countries yet. We're only in Canada, US, and Costa Rica. Those are our 3 at the moment. And the demographic is very similar to the other, from North America standpoint. We do a lot of birthday parties, family type events. We have Seniors Day every Tuesday, and there are some that seem to trickle in on those, but I'd say it's mostly the younger demographic.
Yeah, for us, we're in downtown Los Angeles, the Arts District, and our demographics really break down 3 very similar to this group. Millennials, we're open like a bar till 2 in the people, partying, young adults, and then families, particularly kids sort of older than 7, and then corporates. I also think of 3 psychographics, which I've heard described in the amusement park world as waders, swimmers, and divers. You can think of the waders being people who like to try. They'll come, they'll experiment with something, but they might as well just be sitting on the sidelines drinking with a friend. Swimmers are going to try lots of stuff, and they're interested, and they're really curious. And then divers, they're coming back every single week. This is your whales in the casual game space. But I never like to talk about just demographics without also thinking about the psychographics of those different groups.
Hi.
Thank you.
So thank you. As Michael said, we are from. You might relate to them. So all the way from Brazil, I would say, to Thailand customers. So, but most of our customers are based on North America and Western Europe. So I would say about 65% of the customers are based in North America and Western Europe. And in terms of demographic, as Michael said, North America, it's mostly like birthday parties, children, kids. But in Europe and even in Asia, we see a little bit more of the millennials and the more matured audience coming up. But it ranges all the way from 8 to 80, I would say.
Thank you. And for the next question, I'd like to ask, before we get into the topic of COVID, this is for anybody who wants to jump at it, what do you think is the #1 key to success for VR LBE? COVID aside for now, but like in normal times, what's the key to success for a VR LBE location, or for your type of VR LBE location?
I think I'll just, mine's really quick. It's free demos for us has been the major conversion factor, right? Getting people into the headset. Nothing else you do is going to be more successful at driving traffic in.
I'll jump in and say social VR is something that I really, the people that think that VR is antisocial, clearly, I mean, this is amazing, Jeremy. I love being in this world right now. But the 4-player stuff that we have, Hologate, Hyperdeck, the stuff where I've got an audio track between my team and I'm able to look over, and even though I see them with a squirrel head, I recognize the mannerisms, I can hear their voice. That social VR is really game changing.
Absolutely. I would just want to echo that 100%. We're all about bringing people together. That's what our mission is. And so it's the social elements of VR is, I think, just the game changer.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And so let's dive into sort of current day in the situation. What is how would you say what is your situation with COVID right now? If you have your own location or if you have partners with locations, what do you see as the trend or the situation, whether it's in your local area or if it's international? If you have perspective on that, and what are some of the ways people are adapting? What are some of the success stories and some of the pitfalls that our audience should know about? Folks who own locations, what can you share with them on what you've experienced?
I'll jump in there. I don't want to get on too much of a soapbox here, but I'm so disappointed in how America has responded. I mean, it's really, you look at Asia and they've had, viruses, SARS and MERS, and, there were a lot of opportunities to sort of prepare for this and really understand it. And you saw it this time, they went in their closet, they got their masks and I was just reading Asian economies are going to contract by 0.2%, as a result. They're, mostly back to normal, concerts and all sorts of stuff. America, we're going to contract 5%. We still have not figured it out. States vary in their approaches, but it's really, I think there was real leadership closing early in March and full lockdown. We were learning about the virus. We didn't know, it's 7 months later, right? We've learned a lot. And those change, every single day that American, governments don't sort of evolve their approach, they're dropping the ball, and there will be, business, negative consequences. And it really is, it's really tragic because I think that there's, we could be doing such a better job right now. Something like VR and escape rooms are really, can be done in a COVID safe way. You can do it with just your pod. You can do it in a room that's been completely sanitized. You can never have to interact with staff. I mean, it's safer than dine-in. It's safer than getting your hair cut. I mean, there's so many ways that it can be done better, and yet a lot of states, California included, just won't even let you open. So I think that we've got a real government and cultural problem in the U.S. having sort of dealt with our first real virus in 100 years.
And I
if I can add to that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sorry, Jeremy. I was going to say it's not just the U.S. Canada is struggling too, but I think in general in both cases, 'cause we have locations in both, we're finding that because we're such a new concept, we're getting lumped in with things that we have nothing in common with. Like you said, all those elements make us very safe option right now. But some of our locations in their region were being grouped in with water parks and casinos because there's nothing else that classified them.
Bananas.
So
Absolutely bananas.
that they're saying you can't open until they can. And no one will even come in to say, well, actually, you're right. There are a ton of reasons why this does work. We have built-in contact tracing in our facilities because of just the fact we check every customer in. I'm sure many other arcades have that too. So there's a ton of advantages, but we haven't been able to get kind of past that government barrier that's kind of misunderstanding or mishandling some of the situation.
I wanted to ask a question for Brent. You mentioned earlier that you're doing events with your community, with your customers, with your customer base. Could you tell us a little bit more about how you're adapting to the situation?
Absolutely. So, we have, in addition to VR, we've got a whole carnival midway, a reimagined arcade, and in particular, this 100-seat interactive kind of game show theater. And in that theater, there's a stage, there's tables, and then touchscreens on all those tables so that we could run interactive game shows. And so one of the first things we did when the pandemic hit was to extend that game show environment out onto the web. So it's all in browser, and it's a hosted show, 30 to 60 minutes. People are, if you imagine the browser sort of broken up into quadrants, there's a streamed video in one quadrant, a chat, a leaderboard, and then the fourth quadrant is all sorts of different challenges from trivia, Jeopardy style to Price is Right and sorting games, a whole, Mad Libs kind of cadaveric ski story building thing. And it's basically a big, variety game show platform that we've stitched into different kinds of shows from a private birthday show or virtual team building. We run a public show every Thursday at 7 o'clock, which is actually tonight, 7 o'clock Pacific. And it's just a lot of fun time. Get everybody together. If you're doing well on the leaderboard, you're invited to join the stream as a panelist. So it's been frankly, it's just keeping us sane. We're all workaholics and going absolutely bananas without having our park open. So it's been a good outlet.
Yeah, I appreciate that you're engaging with your audience despite them not coming to the location or being in VR necessarily. I've after sort of hearing a lot of panelists over the years talk about VR LBE and VR experiences, what I hear time and time again, it's not just about VR. It's not about the technology. It's about the experience. It's about customer experience. It's about them coming to you for entertainment, for social interactions. So I think thinking about it from that perspective, there could be ideas, creative ways to continue to engage with your customer base and so that when it is over, you've been interacting with them the whole time.
Yeah.
And I think that's
Definitely, because
nice.
you're not selling VR or technology, you're actually selling the experience. So, if you're selling VR, then it's not going to last long. So that's why even when a new arcade or somebody comes in, what we say is, don't try to sell, hey, do you want to try VR? Say like, for example, Arizona Sunshine is one of the most popular games. So you could say, hey, do you want to be in like a Walking Dead, or do you want to like kill zombies and save the world and stuff like that, So stuff like that. And then, you got to like, make sure that you sell the experience, and that's where I think the success is. And then giving really good customer service. These are the two really key things.
Yeah, I'll completely echo what Shabir said there. Selling the experience versus selling the tech is paramount, and the partners that we have that are doing the best have really adopted that well. And then the second part, which I don't hear enough, what Shabir said, is it's the customer experience, it's the customer service. If your staff is giving an incredible experience, that makes you want to come back, and the repeat business is critical. And I've been to hundreds of arcades in the last 4 years, and I'll say that even going to a Control V has been some of the best customer experience I've gotten, and a lot of them are good, but many of them aren't. And that's something that's a really easy fix. Hire people who are from hospitality, not necessarily technical nerd type people.
Yep.
Thank you for that. We're gonna jump to audience Q&A in a second. So if you have a question, feel free to line up on either side, just outside of the stage, and start thinking about questions if you have any. For the last question, and this is another thing where anyone can jump into it, with the struggles and the closures of all types of businesses around the world in mind, given you all are in the trenches, running the businesses, you are the ones facing it, and you can empathize with the audience, and our audience can empathize with what you all are going through. What is sort of one line of advice or words of comfort that you can give, the thousands of businesses out there, to the people here and also to the people who will watch the stream at home afterwards?
Sure. I've published a couple of articles on this in the last few months, but the broad strokes is that we've lost some business. There's no doubt about that, and some arcades have closed. But the ones that are open back up, the ones that are making a warm, inviting spot, the ones that are showing you that they're a clean, safe place to go, and that are still following their business model and they haven't give up, a lot of those arcades are running over 90% of the occupancy from where they were August of last year. There's still a lot of customer demand. We had 5 million minutes consumed in February, but 2.7 million minutes consumed in August. That's still an enormous amount of customer desire to come back and play. And yes, it's not as good, and yes, there is still work. We still have work to do, but that's a lot of customer desire, and they're coming back and they're playing, and there's still a lot of hope here.
Yeah, definitely. Because human beings are creatures of habit, so people are going to return back to, hopefully soon, to normal ways. And yesterday too, like in Netherlands, they were planning to close all the bars and everything at 8 o'clock. So there was a huge crowd yesterday partying and all that. So human beings are creatures of habit. So one of the things is, as Michael said, one of the arcades that was doing is, even though they were closed, they were still advertising and they were still engaging with the audience, making sure they build their audience during these times too. So that way, when it opens up, everybody would rush into it. They would have like a really good rapport built in. So that's really key also. Yeah, yes, there are some locations that did close, but the ones that are there, making sure that everything is clean, making sure it's very popular still, putting up videos and stuff saying, it's still a very safe place to come and play, and, still maintaining that communication and interaction with the audience. That's very key.
Actually, and I wanted to, there's two things for us. One, we started this knowing that the cost of the equipment would come down, right? The form factor would come down. We're seeing the Oculus Quest 2. That's not a threat to our business. And the primary reason for that is we're not selling the VR, we're selling the space to experience the VR. Most people don't have a dedicated space where they can set up and use, especially the types of experiences we can offer. So that's the only reason why we went down this path in the first place. We knew that that was always going to be the thing that is only going to grow larger if you want to have more immersive experiences. So that's the one thing that we're still confident we will be around for regardless. And the other element is, you look at, if you saw Disney's announcement this week, they've restructured their whole company to shift towards streaming, and they've bypassed the movie theaters. And as sad as that is to see an industry that large kind of start to disappear, it opens the door for us to kind of capture that market, right? There's a huge opportunity coming forwards with people still looking to do something out of home. And traditionally, the movie theaters was that. We can replace part of that.
Definitely.
So I would just add that, owner mindset, right? Your mindset is critically important right now. There's the quote out there, if you think you can, or if you think you can't, you're right. So the ability to keep iterating and keep trying. And so if you're not able to run your business the normal way, keep iterating, trying different things. And that the people who are winning right now are the people who are just not giving up, and they're just, okay, they keep swinging, they keep swinging, they keep swinging, because the space isn't disappearing. And so this is just kind of a hurdle or a bump for the moment.
Yeah, I'm going to echo the comments about, normal is coming back. I think about Asia again. They have suffered multiple different viruses, and then right back into VR arcades and escape rooms, and it feels dark now, but I all the faith in humanity get out of this with quickness. And some of my CEO friends in restaurants are seeing capacity really, not just back to normal for Friday and Saturday, but starting to spread out, Tuesdays that look like Fridays. And if we could get people sort of less sensitive to the day of the week, it would be a huge boon, for the industry, because you'd be able to really, spread out that appetite, and have higher, more headroom.
Yeah, that's something I think there's a difference also, like especially maybe a little less on the weekends, but during the weekdays you're seeing a little bit more larger crowd than it was like a year ago. So I think COVID shifted the focus on the weekdays as well, because people might think it's less busy during the weekdays and might come more willing to come during the weekdays as well.
Cool. And thank you, everybody. I feel like there's a lot more questions to be had. I want to answer a few of them from audience Q&A now. So if you have a question, please come up and ask a question. But otherwise, I'm sure people have more sort of deep dive questions on, how are you adapting? What are your safety protocols? What are your cleaning protocols? Things like that. Just feel free to come pick their brains afterwards as well during the expo hour that's following this. But audience Q&A, we can take a few questions. Come on up. Come on up. If you have a question, feel free to come up on stage. Yep.
Oh, can everyone hear me?
Hey. Yeah. Hey, Hunter.
Yep.
Awesome. Hey, nice to see everyone, see a lot of familiar faces. Specifically, I have a question for you, Brent, and I know a lot of people talked about selling an experience. So for 2-Bit, how, and I know you guys have a lot of different experiences at 2-Bit, whether it be VR stations, asymmetrical VR, room scale, mobile experiences, stuff like that. How important has it been for you all to have a diverse amount of experiences to be able to sell to the different demographics and psychographics that you talked about? And then on in addition to that, how important are your staff and employees to creating that experience?
Yeah, great questions. That diversity has been super helpful because, you want the different people are have different appetites for things, the hardcore versus the casual, and and even the type of environment. We did a bunch of bar mitzvahs, we did a bunch of launch parties. Certain things, the audience will be have a different appetite, for different types of VR. So having a variety was helpful. Some didn't care all about it as long as it was multiplayer. And staff wise, fortunately we're in Los Angeles. A lot of actors and entertaining, charismatic folks. They really when we tried not to rely on it, but when they bring it, it really ups the experience. And they'll get you excited leading in. They'll encourage you to try something else on your way out. And so great staff really helps to add to that experience in a big way, and something we're always looking for.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Hunter. Anybody else? Audience questions.
I have a question for Ryan, Control V. Have you had chance to implement some educational experiences, and do you think during these times there was any success implementing those kind of programs in your locations?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have dabbled in educational experiences throughout the past 4 years, and I'd say we had some limited success with escaping me right now, Mick and his Abilana and their virtual classroom.
Yeah.
And we did that with a couple of high school classes, and it was really successful. The biggest challenge we seem to be facing at almost all of our locations is budget from the school boards to get out there and use our facilities for that purpose, right? There's a ton of appetite for it, but especially right now when they can't even use their own they can't hand out paper handouts anymore. They're not taking the kids anywhere, right? So I think this is until some of those restrictions relax, we're not going to see a ton of use case for that. On the flip side, I mean, from a business standpoint, there's been a ton of opportunity to step in and interface with classes to do educational on the business and advancements in technology. And so we are seeing a lot more of that virtual representation of us in classes as opposed to specific VR educational tools.
Thanks. Thank you.
And I'll give time for one more. Who wants to take the last question? And then we'll move on to lightning rounds.
If there isn't somebody else, I'd love to ask both Shabir and Ryan about for the sites outside of America, how is capacity 90%? Are Tuesdays showing increased demand pre-COVID? What is your sort of most optimistic take? Or best news about
Yeah, I mean, for us, we're still seeing a relatively small volume, right? So we have not returned to anywhere near where we were pre-COVID or even this time last year. So there's still I think, a general confusion in the public in all of our locations, regardless of where you are, as to what is safe, what can I do today, what am I allowed to? Do I have to wear a mask here? It's changing so rapidly, and it seems to be that in all of the cases, the government is not giving a ton of lead time on their new implementation. So that makes it really difficult for us to promote what's happening in advance because those changes happen literally 12 hours notice, and they roll back. Okay, all bars are closed. It's well, okay, thanks for the heads up. There's a ton of that's making it a lot more complicated for conventional communication with the customers about this. So I hope once they dial that in, we'll be able to have more reliable, consistent traffic, I think.
Yeah, definitely. That's something relatable in US and Europe. But as you said, in Asia Pacific, things have started to open up a lot more. So in locations like in Macau and all, you can see some customers returning even on the weekdays. But there's still, a lot of skepticism and whether it's safe or not. So, but we do see before it was like pre-COVID, like the most busiest days were like Friday, Saturdays, Sundays, but now at least the weekdays are getting a little bit more traction than before.
Cool. Great.
Cool. Thank you, everybody. And I'd like to once again thank our panelists for speaking today. And thank you all for attending the panel. We're going to move on to our next event. So if any of y'all would like to speak with a network with the panelists, I would recommend heading back over to the lobby or down to the expo if you like, because we're going to be starting expo hours soon. And you can point at their emails to shoot them a follow-up email. But yeah, feel free to speak with the speakers a little bit more in the back as well as we do our lightning round presentations. And once again, thank you to our speakers.
Jeremy, thank you so much for doing
Thank
this.
you.
Super cool.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Jeremy.
Thank you.
Really
Thank you,
impressive.
Jeremy.
Thank you for coming. Yeah.